AMC and GameStop both ripping over the past couple of weeks, with AMC specifically trading over 10% today to the upside, up to 550 at the high during our midday trading session. This thing absolutely ripped. The question on everyone's mind is this the run everyone's been waiting and holding and hoping for the last couple of months? We're going to dive in and look at the chart and give you our price targets on both AMC and GameStop, so you know exactly how to trade these to make the most money, because that's what you deserve, baby. You deserve to be rich, sexy, and happy. Let's dive into it. So looking at AMC on the hourly chart here, we got a strong breakout over the 200-day EMA. That's great, but let's look at what is the reality that faces us. We got our 200-day EMA with this bright, delightful green line here that we're going to get a little bit closer zoom in so you can see. We pushed up and sold off midday. With our price action, we are holding and have broken above the 8 and 13-day EMA. So great strategy for these is you wait for the short-term EMA to cross over the long-term EMA, and then you hope that the uptrend holds on the longer time frame chart. So our biggest point of resistance for AMC is going to be 730, give or take. We see that we've pushed from this current price at about 440 up to about 850 in the past, just trading slightly above that 200-day EMA, but eventually selling off and coming back down. We found our new support. I would argue that you can call this a double bottom, even though it's a slightly relatively higher low, excuse me. RSI has turned up, just ticked over 50. We had significant volume today, which I think is the most important part of this. You need to have volume, as we always talk about in our live trading seminars. Volume always precedes a change in price. It doesn't mean up, doesn't mean down, just means it's coming. So as we look at this 200-day EMA, we are probably going to continue here as we move through this zone quickly in the past, right here selling off, and then moving back up through that same zone to a high of 650 on this little push here back in January. I think it's very realistic to think that we can see another push very similar to the one that we saw right there, as well as the next one that happened a couple weeks after. So if we circle this so you can get a good idea of what we're talking about here, these past two runs, they're very important because I think that pushing from our low of 377 was a critical price point to break off of, and it pushed as high as 650, higher than we're trading now. Now, again, volatility was there and it sold off, but it found a new relatively higher low at about 4 and change, and then it pushed to its most recent relative high of 850. The one before that was when we pushed up to about $9 back in December. So what I'd like to see here is continuation on the daily. We want to watch this daily chart closely because that gives us an indication of the long-term trend. I want to see this pick back up. I want to see it push above 619. That's going to be pretty much my first main resistance. I think this needs to hold over 620, excuse me. Once we push over that, I think it's very realistic to expect we retest 725. This could be a phenomenal swing trade to 725, being our second target at this 200-day EMA. If we were to break above that, I think it's very realistic to think that we could retest the top of this, or the midsection of this range right here that we traded in for quite a while this thing was running. And if we do that, then really the sky's the limit. If we dial out to the weekly chart here, I think there's a lot of opportunity to revisit 15, 16 bucks if it can break above that point and hold. So keep a very close eye. I think target 2 is just as reasonable as target 1. If we get that upward price momentum, we have to see that first, or none of this means anything. Moving on, GameStop. Phenomenal trade. If you guys are in our Discord, you know we took this at about $16 and change. That was our entry right there back on the 17th. This thing pushed up to 27 bucks. Phenomenal 50-60% return on that short-term trade. Still holding up here. Now we've mapped off our zones here. We want to isolate this into horizontal price ranges so that we know our resistance and our support, so that we can trade in that range and make some money regardless of the price action. So we broke up over these EMAs. Great crossover. Awesome. We have this 200-day EMA sitting about 24.80. It failed to hold above that price. However, it does seem to be respecting this range that we drew out right here at about 21.97, call it 22 bucks to make it easy, and it seems to be holding there. If we can hold there, I would say that we've safely secured this support at about 22 bucks, and then we're playing with this range right here where we're going to retest 27 bucks. If we retest 27, I think our next target then would be right here. We've got it outlined for you right here. It would be this line right here at about $34. We want to keep a very close eye on that target because that is kind of best case scenario for the swing position I'm still holding on to a little bit of. I think that we can realistically see $34. Now, let's hope and dream and see how far we can possibly take this. I've mapped this out on the weekly, and I think that it's very realistic that 41 could be kind of the make or break pivot point for longevity of this stock to see it continue to grow and possibly retest some of the madness that we saw back in 2020 and 2021 when we traded this thing from I think we alerted at $3, traded up to about $400. That's when I was like, I'm out, I'm done. AMC, I think we grabbed that at 2 and traded up to about 76, 77. That's when I said I'm done. And shortly thereafter, they broke down. Guys, this is all predictable stuff. If you know enough about the market, you can easily map this stuff out, know when it's time to take risk off the table. I highly suggest you add these lines to your chart, you follow along, and you watch as they play and interact with these lines, so that way you can get a good understanding of exactly how these are supposed to trade and how you're going to continue to make money doing them. As always, we offer free trading education, totally free, no money required. We just want to see people thrive and trade well and make money. The Discord link is at the bottom. I hope you guys join, check it out. I think you'll find a nice community that you like to be a part of. Most importantly, you're going to make some money. I love y'all. Stay blessed.